Buckner, PhD, is the founder and CEO of the International Institute for Dreaming and Imagery, where she teaches people how to use dreaming and imagery for personal growth, problem solving, and enhanced creativity. Buckner has used dream work as a basis for her work as an executive and creative coach for over 20 years. In addition, she continues to serve as an executive coach and senior fellow at George Washington University Center for Excellence in Public Leadership and co-faculty director of their Eco Leadership Coaching Certification Program. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Live the Glamour Chats. I am thrilled to be here with the author, Bonnie Buckner, of this wonderful book. I actually read it while I was on vacation. It came in time. I was traveling and I immediately threw this in my bag because I thought just the name, The Secret Mind, had me. And talking about dreams, I'm an avid dreamer. I remember most of my dreams. I dream almost every single night. They're very detailed. And I think this book, after reading it, really helps understand where some of it's coming from and how you can apply it. And we're going to talk to you a little bit more about that today. So let's just get started with your background and how you started working with dreams.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. As I said while we were chatting, it's so positive, your show, and I'm super happy to be here. Um, so I came to dreaming really because as a little kid, I had recurring nightmares all the time. And one day I was sitting on our front steps and I was thinking about it. And as a little kid thinks, I was thinking like, what's the Guinness Book of World Records for never sleeping? Like, how can I never sleep? And it just kind of hit me, oh, okay, I'm here to figure out how to fix your nightmares, and then I'm going to teach other people the same. And as that was a little kid idea, and as that's matured as an adult, and as you see in the book, our sleeping nightmare, our waking nightmare, it's about fixing both of them. So,
It's that's as a child to know that, to have that instinctually in you, to know that you want to know more about it and ask those questions. It's nice. I like seeing someone kind of follow that path. I think it's interesting to be able to take that childhood thought and then follow it through life. It's incredible. What would you say as I mean, there's so many questions that I have, but just to get people started with your book and just an overview of what it's about, and then we can go a little bit deeper into it. What is the kind of a synopsis of the book?
yeah, so we all dream. We dream every night, and maybe you don't remember it, but I'm going to teach you how. And inside of us, those dreams are an incredible resource. And when we start to tap into it, it's our deepest inner knowing, and it's how we make meaning of our world and understand things. And we have flashes of that in our daytime. There's certain times in our life where we can say definitively, that's the
Mm.
direction I need to take, or that's the career that's right for me. And it's a little flash. And that's what's operating in our dreaming at night. And when we really start to dream and understand it, then we're tapping into that resource every day. So this book is about learning how to go back inside yourself and know that deep inner knowing and then bring it out into the world.
And then you draw a distinction between like visualizations and imagery. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I think there's a difference.
Yeah, so that whole mechanism that I'm talking about,
Mhm.
that inner insight is a flash, and most people tell me, oh, yeah, I've had that before when I've been in the shower and suddenly like this great idea happened. So it's spontaneous. We don't will it to happen, we don't tell it what should happen. So that spontaneous mechanism is really part of our body's natural healing mechanism, and the spontaneous is the key word. Visualization can fall into fantasy or story because we start telling ourselves what to see and what to think. And it's very different because that can be what we think people on the outside want us to think, and we're not in that true space anymore.
And that it's funny because there's a lot of talk around visualization and, to do that before you go to sleep or when you wake up in the morning. Do you feel like um, if someone does that, does it impact their dreams? I don't even want to call it negative or positive, but does that play a role if someone was to do that, actually visualize something? How does it affect their dreaming and then their life after their days after that?
I mean, it can, if you think about it, it's like the difference between an open-ended question and a very closed-ended question. So it's the difference between you can ask your dreams a question, and I talk about that in the book. Like,
Right.
how can I become more courageous, or what kind of careers would be good for me in this next step? If I leave it open in that way, I'm going to get a very deep answer, and it might not be what I expect, but it's what I need. And if I narrow it and I make it very, as humans who are awake, we tend to like, if then,
Yeah.
here's this choice or this choice. Like we're always at the eye doctor. It's A or it's B. And when we narrow ourselves in that way, we miss opportunities to see
Mhm.
something much bigger in ourselves.
So I guess by doing that, or our dreams sometimes can be really deep and we question what they even, you wake up the next morning or what does that even mean? You kind of break through some of that to understand what they mean and how I know you work with CEOs and business leaders who, by tapping into these dreams, can use them to benefit themselves versus just saying, like, well, that was a really weird dream that I had.
Yeah. So, if we're talking about leaders, but any of us,
Right.
always have a lot of ideas. All of us are creative people, whether we're creating a podcast or we're creating a business or creating a family, it requires creative decisions. And in all of my work with people who've been starting companies or whatever it is that they're trying to bring into the world, I've never seen it fail because it was a bad idea. It's always a people problem. It's a lack of courage, it's an inner block, it's a belief system or a pattern. So when we tap into that and we pay attention to our dreams, it shows us where we're blocked and it shows us how to get over the blocks. And then it shows us also latent potential, which
Mm.
is the part of ourselves we could be using and we're not because we're so busy being blocked.
I think that is so I love that thought because I feel like, especially being someone who dreams often and I'll spend a lot of time trying to figure out some of them, or is it trying to tell me something, or why did sometimes, you'll have a dream that seems like it came from so long ago, and
Yeah.
something that happened, maybe not even that happened years ago, but like a person or a topic or something that occurred that seems like it's been out of your life forever, and it's come back in. And I think having a resource like your book to help determine what the purpose of that was, um, is so important. What would you say something like that is that people maybe go through? Are there typical dreams that come up that you hear more often, that people say to you, and you can kind of direct them from there, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. So, one of the sort of typical things is to dream of a place. I am in my childhood home, or I am and childhood home is a big one because we have a lot of things that happen in childhood, good and bad. And it's a big place of memory making. So, in a dream, in my childhood home, I call this the locating aspect of dreams. It means that in my emotional, psychological state, I'm in my childhood home, meaning I need to go back to what's the rest of this dream pointing me to because I'm somewhere in that space. Either it was a time when I was more free, or it was a time when I was competing with my brother, or something about that. And then when we get that context and we look at the other parts of the dream, it starts to pull together.
See, like that makes sense, especially because I know when you talk to people, they'll be like, My dream was so strange. It went from my childhood home, and then I was in this part." Our dreams jump all over the place. But when you tie it together like that, it makes sense because maybe it's just an emotion where our brain or mind is trying to connect to, and it's using that. space to help us connect to there. Uh,
Yeah, and very often you'll see things like, it's my childhood home, but wait, oh, there's a whole lot of windows there, for example. So then I can ask myself the question, okay, I'm seeing out at something that I maybe didn't see before.
mm,
So what am I being asked to look at? Asking ourselves questions about the dreams instead of just saying, oh, that was really
right.
bizarre, but kind of like putting ourselves in it for a minute and saying, wait, it's my childhood home, but suddenly there's all these windows. And
Interesting.
just asking the question, things start to make sense.
Yeah, that exactly. What would you say is a big misconception around the dreaming process and, you know, how we think of it?
Well, one myth I just busted is that we don't dream. So a lot of people tell me, I don't dream. They do dream. And funny enough, when I kind of probe just a little bit, they often say, well, I mean, I did have that one dream. So we do dream. But another sort of myth is just, well, it's too weird to mean anything.
Oh,
And the thing is, it's weird on purpose because it gets our attention.
mm,
The whole reason we're stuck is because we're only seeing things one way. So we have to see something a different way. And it's just inherently going to be strange,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the strangest idea is, oh, I'm capable,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And just to like plug into that instead of dismissing it is so key for our moving to a new place.
I love that you said it gets our attention because that makes sense. Because if it was just something basic, like what you had for lunch, you probably wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't even faze you. But when you have wake up from something that felt so strange, it really does grab your attention and makes you think about it in so many
Yeah,
different ways.
because we don't pay attention really to what we're having at lunch
No,
either. Like
exactly,
we go through
exactly.
our days like kind of on this like to-do list
Yes.
crazed thing. And so then when we dream, it's like, wait a minute, you actually lived something here for a minute and let's see how we feel about it instead of just that crazy run that we do.
Letting it go, not even really, really paying attention. I feel like it actually forces you to pay attention more to your life in general. What would you say is more of like the creativity in dreaming? Where does that, where, like, what part of our dreams is more of like the creative side of us, and how does that play out?
Well, there's kind of two tacks
Mm,
to take on this. One is just a neurological one, which is the Center for Neurological Processing in our brain that is responsible for dreaming, is also where our creativity happens. And so they're operating in the same area and region of the brain. But on a whole nother level, it's that strangeness,
mm.
right? So there's so many inventions that came from dreams, from the sewing machine to Google to the theory of relativity to the Twilight series. And it's always because there's been this sort of strange thing that people said, wait a minute, what if I could invent XYZ? What if? That what if is so important. And so when it comes to our own life, it's those new creative ideas that keep us also from just being bored with our life and being stale. And I do have a lot of people who come to me and they're like, life has lost its meaning. Well,
Mm.
part of that is because they're not being challenged. And as soon as there's this new influx of creativity, it's like, oh, my job isn't dull anymore. Or, oh, there's still things I want to accomplish here or whatever.
Do you feel like anyone can tap into that creativity, even if someone says like, I'm not a creative person, or they don't feel like there, and I don't think it means creative in the sense, it could be that you're creating art or something like that, but I think creativity has a lot of different meanings. And do you feel like anyone can use that in some way?
Absolutely. And, we are all creative. Like one of the things I do is I teach at a coaching program at George Washington University. And when we start talking about this with executives, they're like, I mean, it's even creative when I choose my tie in the morning. Yes.
Right.
Like, we're really creative people. And the more we exercise our creativity, the more creative we get, actually.
I honestly, that is, it's so true because I feel like it's the same with anything, like any activity we do repetitively, we're going to get better at it. And so why not be more creative, use our dreams to be more creative. A dream journal. I feel like what are your thoughts? Let's talk about your thoughts around that. Do you yourself keep a journal, and what are your beliefs around having a dream journal?
It's critical. So if you think about it, right, all those great ideas have to be captured because the moment we get out of bed and we start making coffee or go out to get coffee or whatever, it's gone.
Mm,
So we have to catch these ideas and we have to catch them right then while they're fresh. I do keep a dream journal. I have boxes of them. I never throw them away because here's the other interesting thing. From time to time, maybe once every year or two, I'll go down and just leaf through and look at where I've come.
mm.
And that's also really important because we are all developing and evolving. And sometimes we get into this negative self-talk of like, oh, I've got this going on, that going on. Look back at your dreams and you'll realize, oh, but I solved this and I've changed here.
Wow, just that alone. It's funny because I was just talking to a friend about journaling, and I said, I asked my friend, I said, "Do you keep your journals, or do you get rid of them? Do you say like, okay, I wrote it down and now it's done?" And two of my friends both said they kept them, and that was I was questioning because I started to accumulate these journals, and I said, "Am I going to just keep these for a lifetime?" And you just somewhat solidified that for me, that question. Because I think journaling is so important. And I, the dream journaling, I don't do that enough. I think after reading your book, it inspired me to want to do that, to keep a little notebook next to my bed. I tend to wake up middle of the night from dreams. So I think I'll have to get used to just quickly jotting it down to see where it goes. Occasionally, I'll put it just in my notes in my phone, and I do go back to them and say, "Wow, that was interesting," or it. And I don't know if it's like a premonition or did you know it? But I feel like that happens too, where I'll go back and I'll read a dream and read about a dream I had, and it seems like it manifested in a way, which is very interesting to me that that could happen.
Well,
Um,
I mean, that's the whole creative thing we're doing. We're dreaming ourselves into being. So how we view the world
mm,
is then going to determine what we create in the world, you know? And there's a lot of different ways to view the world, which is one of the great things about dreams is, you know, if you think about it, every aspect of that dream is an aspect of you, the dreamer. It came from you, it came from your
right.
inside. Childhood home is me, the modern, you know, house, the sleek new redesign, also me. So
Mm,
when I start to think about that, all of these are my views on things, which is what I'm taking into my waking time and what I'm going to create. So it is going to manifest.
mm.
Or if there's something that's like a pattern, I don't want that to manifest, that gives me a moment to break in there and shift it.
Ooh, that's so good. That is
Yeah.
so good because it's almost like a little bit we're on autopilot. So using our dreams to jump off of that and actually get more involved in our life through our dreams can just, I guess, really change everything. What would you say if for viewers that are watching and they don't, maybe someone like the person you said that say, I don't dream, or they don't pay attention to their dreams as much. What would you say their first steps could be to kind of getting a little bit more involved in the process?
Yeah, getting that journal, you
Mm,
know, because, and here's the other thing. So get the journal, but also I have a much broader definition of dream. A lot of people think it has to be like a full story,
mm,
like Spielberg, to count as a dream. It doesn't. You can wake up with just one image or a color, or very often people wake up with like a little snippet of a song.
mm.
Write it down because then it's like later in the afternoon, as they're thinking about it, they're like, that exact snippet is telling me what I need to know today. You know, there's
That's
a reason it came up.
Yeah, that is so good. And it's true because you do get these just little glistens of things that happen. I sometimes wake up and, it is just like a face or a tree or something so small. But I think even myself start paying attention more to that would make a huge difference. Um, in your, I want to get in, not too much. I want people to get your book and read it because I think it's so good, but not to give too many details away. What are just some of maybe two or three highlights from the book that will really stand out to you and to viewers?
Well, for me, first of all, it is really step you through it. Like, here's the dream journal, here's how you start, and then also how to sort of unpack a dream.
Mhm.
What do all of these different images mean? And I think what's helpful for people is I put a lot of examples in there of dreams that different clients have had. And, I think one big takeaway that's been so useful for me doing this work for the long time that I've been doing it is knowing that there's different kinds of dreams and that those correspond to different waking time experiences. So when you ask people, like, what have you been dreaming? Sometimes people say, oh, nightmares. And other people will say, oh, I had this one dream one time that just moved my life in such a different direction. Well, those both belong to waking time experiences. We've had moments that are nightmarish. People say this to me all the time in waking time. They're like, oh my gosh, my boss is a nightmare, right? Well, we have feelings about that. It shows up in our dream and images. So it gives us a chance to correct things. But we also have moments of clarity in our life where it's like, oh, this is a beautiful day. And we stop for just a minute and we're like, the sky is so blue. It's like so perfect. And we have dreams like that as well. And being able to kind of see our life in little bits of experience instead of just this one sort of like thing of helps break it up. Even periods in our life where we think, I'm so challenged right now, when you start to see, but I'm having different kinds of dreams and they're not all challenging,
Mm.
that's helpful.
That's so good. I feel like it's just a new way to think about everything that's going on in your brain. I mean, it's so complicated how we work in the daytime in life and then when we go to sleep. I also wanted to talk a little bit. This was kind of more my own thinking. I have two nieces and one niece, she's 6 and she dreams all the time. She comes to me and tells me her dreams, and it's very cute to see a little kid experiencing it. And how their emotions are and they feel around it. What would you say, for someone who either has children that are coming with nightmares or dreams or good, positive, negative, whatever it may be, starting at such an early age, what's a good way for them to maybe they're not journaling yet, but they can, work with their dreams in some way or their parents can?
Oh, yeah. I love talking about kids and dreams because at the institute that I have, we have a kids program.
Oh,
And I
wow.
think one of the big reasons why I had that insight when I was young, and I've gone on to do this as my life's work, is because my family was very open and supportive to it. So, first of all, as any parent or aunt or uncle listening to this, be supportive to your kids because they live in the world of images. They aren't adultizing yet. They're just living in a bunch of sense impressions and images and emotions, and they're trying to figure it out because it's all squeezed into this tiny little body. And so when they say something to you, and this is a real story, oh, there was this black swan that flew into the playground today, and all of us kids were scared and ran to the corners, they mean it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was a young person that we worked with, and who was the black swan? It was a substitute teacher who was super scary and very like hard line, whereas the other teacher was fun.
Interesting.
So just ask, tell me more about the black swan.
Hmm.
Like, what are some other ways besides running to the corner that you could do with the black swan? And just give them options to talk about it.
That is so great. Comes to me, we talk a lot about it, and I always find it so interesting. So that makes sense, that it's a good way to bring more out or learn more about what maybe is going on in their day to day that they're not, kids don't always talk about that stuff or they don't even think about it until maybe having a dream. Um, so I like that. I think and I think it could actually help in if you can teach them that type of thinking so young, they can
Yes.
use that through their life then, and maybe apply it.
Well, here's the other great thing it does. The reason we have a hard time as adults of trusting our inner self and trusting our intuition is because some well-meaning adult or mentor or teacher told us not to, told us that we were silly, get your heads out of the clouds, something like this.
Mm.
So when kids say something, when they say they feel something, I had a friend who was looking for a school for their kid, and they walked into one. It was great on paper, but all of a sudden the kid hid under the chair and would not get out. Now, my friend has done dream work, and she walked out and she said, "We're not sending our kid to the school." The kid knows. I don't know why, I don't know how, but this is
Something.
their intuition,
Right.
and we're gonna, honor that. So, because it wasn't a tantrum, it was
Right.
just a, no, I
An
don't have a
action.
good
Yeah.
feeling here. So, letting kids express themselves
Mm.
is helping them to grow up to adults who can make good decisions for themselves.
That's so, and that's hard because I think a lot of it does, as your child, get suppressed a little bit, and so to allow it, especially in this more, let's say, creative form for them, if they come and say, "I was floating over a rainbow," that just as an adult would be interesting. Well, why did you fly over the rainbow? Were you there? Those kind of questions maybe can direct you also to something that they love that they don't know how to express that they had done that day, or a teacher they like, or something like that. So, um, that's so insightful. I like that a lot. Um, as we kind of, I somewhat come to the end, I know you also work with clients. When they come to you, when you work with clients, are they coming to you because they are experiencing a lot of dreams, or is it all different reasons? Are they looking to, excel maybe in their career more, or move in a different direction in their life? What are people coming to you for?
Yeah, different things. Like, when I mentioned about, oh, life has, lost its meaning, is
Mm.
losing that vigor. Like, we want to feel passionate about what we do. And, sometimes we get to a point where we think, oh, if I make a career change now, then XYZ implications. And so they come to me to help them think about that and do that. Or maybe some people come to me and they're like, okay, we're thinking about starting a family, but then what's that going to do with our work? And so, different things that people come to me for.
To work through.
And it doesn't matter if they're
Right.
dreaming yet or not, because
Oh.
here's the other thing. Your listeners, just by listening to this, most of them are probably going to have a dream because it's really about just
Mm.
getting nudged just a little bit that you can do it, and then it happens.
So anyone that does that, we need comments below for that. I would love to see what everyone writes, or their experiences over the next, couple weeks of watching and viewing. I think it would be interesting to hear that, or to see what comes
Oh,
up
yeah.
for everyone. Um, I want to take the time to thank you so much, and also thank you for the book, because I really did enjoy it. My sister saw it on my desk yesterday, and she's like, "Can I read that?" So it's definitely going to get passed along, because I think I was briefly, we were briefly talking about it, and she's like, "This looks so good." So she's excited too, and I think the audience will be. Can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media, website, and everything like that?
Yeah, the website, bonniebuckner.com. That's also Instagram, bonniebuckner.com, but you write out DOT.
Okay.
Institute for Dreaming and Imagery.com, or that Instagram is Dream with IIDI.
Okay, perfect. And I will put all of that in the description box below too. So anyone who's looking, I will also be putting a link to the book, because it's a must read, even just to get started. I think it's a perfect place to guide anyone in the direction to move a little bit more positively in their life. So thank you so much, Bonnie, today for taking
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks so much. You too. Thank you.